Okay, I'm representing Sandvik. For those that don't know about Sandvik, it's a very big company, 160 countries, 42,000 employees all over the world, big machines to do holes and to help with construction and with mining. So the challenge is 3,000 systems around, buying smaller companies, production companies, and then selling, So you need to integrate or disintegrate. So, and here we trying to put governance in master data with this environment. So I will just tell you our story. It's not fancy because I have some things that fail, some things that has been better. So, but I will just tell you how has been done and what is the status today. So, safety first. We always show this because that is one of our visions. Safety first. I don't know, but here we have a safety emergency exit in case, or in the other side, in the same place, you go down, and then you are safe, or over there. So now, because we have like 2 minutes break, I don't think it's needed, but I thought that maybe we could also stand up to be safe too, because after so many hours here sitting, it's hard to keep us ongoing. Anyway, I will just skip this, I already said, and this is our story. Once upon a time, the company decided to start looking for new strategies and how to align in a good way what we have in all this landscape in the IT and the strategy of the company and how this really could be achieved. So that means that the IT will support the strategy in the company and not all the way around. So, and then one of the things they realized was that the data was not so good. And then they started worrying about this quality and how to put the quality of the data in place. And then they decided that, okay, let's do a master data management program. And it seems that, I don't know, maybe they heard it in Gartner or something. I heard that before. That's a good one. So the thing is that they decided that let's go to this. But then you can understand the idea or the target with this program was just to create the possibility to put this consistency on the data, all the prioritization about the data, and then they decided, okay, let's see, we can't start with 3,000 systems and all the data at the same time. It's too broad. So scope. So they took, what is our master data? And if I ask you, what is your master data, I guess you will come with more or less same answer. And that means your products, right? Your customers, your suppliers. In our case, because we sell things aftermarket, when the machines are working with customers, we also need to know where those machines are, operation sites, we call them. So we decided to start in 5, or where I didn't, I wasn't at the company at that time, but that was 2015, more or less. And by that time, then they decided to start with this product, customer, suppliers, and then all these operation sites. But you can imagine, we have like 30 to 50,000 customers. As I told you before, there were like 40 sales areas, 160 countries, 3,000 systems, 15 different, purchasing systems for components, and those many suppliers for those components. So you can imagine the scope, even when we say like 4 areas, the scope was still very, very wide. But by that time, then they say, okay, let's put the process for master data in place. And if you read it here, I don't know if you see it. I see it very far from here, but maybe you see it better in your... It's like, okay, collect the data, let's put it somewhere. all the things. So very, very IT focus. And then, obviously, with all these systems, let's put an architecture in it. And then they start putting all this architecture, the cloud, the system here, and then you put integration from this system to the other, and they will be distributed to this other one. Okay, and then they started. So you can see here in the top of this slide, the time fence on all these things. 2015, we start the program. 2016, they start stopping data from one system to another for the master data platform, and then they start putting even more data face-to-face, and then SAP is our provider, change from MDM to MDG. So let's start all over and passing the data from one platform, MDM, to the next one, MDG. And are we there? And then it's like, okay, how can we handle this? Let's start in the program some projects. So we started 5 projects, and you can see here, like every project their schedule, every project their own budget, every project their own project manager, their own architect, their own, I don't know if that sounds familiar for some of you, but when you have very big elephant, you just handle that way. Okay, so far so good, sounds good, but then what happened? You have these projects, you have like these 5 different management of data, no coordination, not really, together. And then you can imagine that, master data, yeah, you put everything here, and then that is the one true of the, of the data, and then you distribute it. Well, when we start analyzing this, it seems that, no, that was not the case. In some cases, they just send a copy, and the copy was distributed, not even in a real time. Some other times, there was like, okay, let's start it in the master data. Sometimes there was like, no, we have the source, we send it, we clean it out, and we send it back. So even those 4 projects did it in very different way. Their implementation styles were not really the same. So then what happened when the program came to the end? Then came another problem, and that was like, this is a real problem that I just, changed the faces, because internally I show this with some faces. I can't do it here, and all these comments, when you have the material, you can read them carefully. They are exactly extractions from our emails. There was a problem with some codes that are being created somewhere, and these codes are needed to export or import our components. And depending on the code, you apply certain rules. And those rules need to be compliant, because if not, then you get fines. And the result of not being compliant with those codes is a lot of money for the company. And that was the case. There were a lot of fines, and there was like, okay, now we need to fix the codes. But the thing is that who is creating those codes? But they were somehow a copy in the master data. But it's like, okay, how can we fix this? So the person that has pain is the one that says, who can help me? Okay, maybe compliance, because compliance needs to be sure that we are compliant. But compliance says, no, we help them when they tell us, but if don't, we don't know. We don't know what to do. Okay, let's open a demand, for IT so that they can try to resolve it. And you see there like 6 roles and some others more, 9 months, mails back and forth, a whole chain, and nobody had really ownership or accountability to solve that problem. It was like, and now what? We have our master data. What is wrong? Why is not working all this? So the challenges. Yeah, the challenge was, okay, what happened when we want to handle new data as a master data and to put it in our platform. How can we coordinate all these different styles that has been implemented and coordinated? Who is going to decide when the program is over? Who is going to decide about these things? How can we improve data quality or continue with these data quality measurements? If we have any data incident outside the program, who is going to get accountability, or who is responsible for that, or take care of that and help? How we are going to continue to add new definitions, new rules in this master data? How can we access or connect with the master data? So there was a lot of things that hasn't been in place, but the program was just to close. And with all those problems, as you can imagine, in these 5 projects going on, it was like, we need something else. Master data was not that good as we thought, and that is not like the solution of our problems. So actually, what we needed is to put governance, a real information governance around it. And what is information governance then for this master data? Very concrete on 3 things. 1, how to handle data quality. Not only reactively, when something is wrong and we have an incident, but proactively. How is that data quality? How can we improve all the time, continuously? Second, how to manage all that metadata. New definitions, new rules, to put it in place, and maybe to decide this is a new metadata, new master data that we want to handle as a master data. And finally, ownership. Who is going to decide? Who is the highest accountability? Who is more responsible and do this more practically? And all these roles that need to be in place. These 3 things is what we decided to put around the master data to make it work when the program was really over, and then continue working. Because it's not enough the IT. It's not enough just to put a platform, integrations, garbage in and garbage out. Doesn't make sense. We have 2 tools, whether we like it or not. I'm not so happy on them, but ARIS is one of them, and the other for metadata handling, and ASAP Information Steward so far for data quality are the 2 that we are using. So what have we done so far? So far, first of all, we have put some what we call information cluster boards. That means if we see all landscape of information, we have divided that landscape of information in clusters. And for every cluster, we have put a board. And the board have main 3 roles. That is a chairman, some information owners or business object owners, because it's metadata, and data stewards. But then representation to anchor with all the divisions we have within our business area. And that's very important, because we are here putting the rules around the data. And those rules needs to be very clearly defined in detail, not only the semantic, the definitions, but also exactly how we want to use the data and what are the meaning of that data. And the only way to anchor is by having people that represents the several areas that use the data. So we have representatives either from the processes that use the data or the divisions where products are produced for the data, or experts, software, subject matter experts. So, and So far we have, as you can imagine, because this has been done around the master data program, 5 information cluster boards. But of course, the idea is to continue increasing and putting some other information boards in this landscape, as I said. And they will have the accountability, as is here, for metadata, for all these definitions, for the business rules, for the data quality, for all the information compliance. But then we have next part, and it's like, okay, all these rules will be implemented in the master data and other systems, of course, that might be not yet in the master data, and maybe we never have it in the master data, and that means our operations. And in those operations, we have other roles that has been identified to pursue those rules. And they are this information ownership, and this information ownership is not the same as the one up, because the one up is the rules. It's like the parliament who decide the laws, you know. But here is like who in charge of the records, who creates those records, what is the measure, how we are measuring the quality of the records according to the rules that has been defined. So this is more like the government that it be sure that is implemented the laws and that everybody follows the laws and nobody break them. And if it's break, we try to, you know, change and do something. So that is this level, the orange level. And in here, then we have a specific relation with the systems and applications. As I said, we are talking about a lot here about our master data today and our data warehousing. But this will be applied to many other areas. Integration is the next, or we are starting already. And then the third part that we have focused is the processes. The processes around how to handle this data quality proactively and reactively. And the second part, how to manage new requirements in data. New definitions, changes in definitions, because we need to be flexible. It's not like one time, you know, task and then that's it. You need to all the time update. The business information model, as you can imagine, is like the core of everything, is where we have all the details on these rules. So if we have somewhere to put all the requirements, all the rules that we have set, all this metadata is our business information model. To facilitate to the people in business, we don't call it business information model, we could call it book of rules. And then the book of rules, everybody is like, oh yeah, good, the book of rules. And then they tell us what are the definitions, what are the, and then we put those book of rules in this repository in ARIS tool. And as you can see there in green, we have in total around 30 clusters. 6 are completely modeled, and another 6 are like half done. And there are still many without doing at all. And why? Because instead buying information model ready or standard or use it as a reference model, we have decided to do it ad hoc, completely depending on our needs. And we do it as far as we need it. So we need this area, we do that area. So because we started with master data, then we started with those clusters for master data. We have added a little bit, as I said, for data warehousing, and we are adding as far as we need them. We connect this with our projects. And that means that when other people in the company start a project with a system or whatever, what we do is to map to this information model, because we are not, let's say, having a goal of let's change all the system today and everything will be fine. No, instead that, okay, whatever we decided to keep, instead what we do is to do mapping. So the way we use this information model in our projects is to do the mapping, and then in that way we know what we have in several sources and several things. So, and here, as you see, then we are putting information governance not only for master data, but for anything else. So this is like one of the, let's say, the conclusion. You have in the middle the core, which is the business information model with the rules for data. Then you have the framework for governance, where you have new roles. You have these new, how do you say, processes that help you to handling. You have procedures, policies, all what you need to detail all this working way of working, and of course the tools, as I said to you, the ARIS tool and so forth. And then this is spread out and implement in many of the old landscape of IT. So the single part, the middle part is the information architecture. Around we have information governance, and then you spread it out in information, in data, information management or data management. So to conclude, what are our lessons learned? When you do a master data program, be sure that you coordinate all the things you have under, because if you start like we did, several tracks with several projects, then it's very hard to really understand how this connects. And then you have a new challenge to put them together, and that is what happened to us. The second is, let's put use cases. The more use cases you use with your communication in the company, the easier to sell it, the easier to go forward. I think we have heard this morning also in a couple of the people talking. So it's very, very easy. And you see here the case I showed you before at the beginning. This was to show the solution. If we put governance, then it will be like this. This girl, it will have been going around 9 months, a lot of change in mails here and there. Instead, we have done this way. And then it's very easy to show them. You will have gone here and then there, and then it has been fixed in a more, shorter time. So use cases, that was another learning. And the third is that really communication is a lot about when you're trying to really implement information governance and adapt that communication to different people. So as I said, we talk about book of rules. We never talk about business information model. It's a way to, try to come closer to your audience. So that is our 3 lessons that we have learned that we want just to share today with you.